Hello, welcome to Bears
Bears
Boldly
boldly
Go,
go.
Disco Decks, Lower Decks. And we're talking about episode 4?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm a little frazzled today, guys, so there might be long pauses in my thoughts. Pauses
Mm.
that is a word. Pauses is.
Yeah, yeah. Apologies in the lighting situation. James seems to have suddenly had a spaceship land. It's got very, very bright in his. And mine's terribly grainy because my overhead lights are giving up.
I have
Um,
stolen all the light from Matt's, from the
mm,
hovel I keep Matt in.
yeah. Um, it's true. I don't actually live in Gateshead. I live in the shed that James has
Yeah,
outside.
I just wheel him out when it's time to record, and then there's real
A,
no
mo-
reason for us to do it like this. I could just have him next to me, but
uh, a
nah.
mossy shed. That's what he keeps me in.
But on a Star Trek Lower
Mm.
Decks,
Mm.
it
Um,
was good. I can't
Great
remember the
episode.
name of this episode, and I've not got it up because I'm not prepared.
Uh, I mean, I think the people would be
Hey,
disappointed if we.
I have had
Yeah,
3 weeks of being prepared with the episode title, so
yeah. Well, here we go then. Episode 4. I forgot to type in season 2.
yeah, we don't want the season 1. We're on season 2 now,
No,
guys.
yeah, we are in season 2. Um,
I feel these are
what was
becoming
it?
more and more just like random trains of thought
It
as we go on because again we're talking about a 20-minute sitcom. There isn't a lot to actually talk about, so we fill it with
um it is Mugatu Gumatu
yes, because we go after
or
the
or
Mugatus or the
or
Gumatus or the
Mugatos
yeah,
or
and
yeah.
an original series creature that has many names.
Mm. And even many pronunciations of the many names, which they lean into quite a lot. Like every time the name is mentioned, it's
Yeah,
ever so slightly either differently pronounced or
so yeah,
completely different
it's
word.
found out that someone is potentially there's Mugatus where there shouldn't be some, so they get sent
Mm.
in to round them up and because they're an endangered species.
Yep.
Um, we find that both Boimler and Rutherford like
Mm.
playing a diplomacy board game,
Yep.
and
Really, really nerdy diplomacy boy. Because at first I wondered whether it was the Ferengi game that they
yeah,
play on Deep Space Nine quite a lot. Because it looked like it could be because it was all about like making deals and stuff,
yeah.
and
I
then it
like
was
that the idea of a game is that no one's happy.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
isn't it? It's not called diplomacy, isn't it? Called stuff like compromise. And the idea is like, if
Yes,
you're not happy and I'm not happy, that's a compromise.
yeah. Um, so it's which obviously is the main plot device for
Yeah,
the show,
we have
or for the
a.
episode.
They find out that I'm still not sure if it could. I think it could be entirely true still. That Beckett is a top secret like Section 39,
Section 31.
31, yeah, spy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
There's still part
I
of it
mean,
that feels like it could be entirely true.
even if maybe she doesn't realize it anymore.
Yeah,
Like potentially she's I mean she certainly is the type that would be a candidate for
yeah.
doing some work for Section 31. Um
So they get convinced that she's trying to kill them.
mm,
So they're on the
um
run while they find this Ferengi illegal poaching operation of the Mugatus, and everyone ends up getting captured but them two.
yeah.
And yeah, I guess spoilers for last week's episode of.
Well,
We really need to
yeah,
get
of
better with
course.
these spoiler
Well,
warnings.
yeah.
Maybe I should start
As al-
writing them in the episode description.
I mean, as always, we put them up 8 days after it comes online.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fine. Um the yeah, it was just an excellent other like an excellent episode 4. I think it was again probably better than
Yeah,
episode 2
I liked
for
the
me.
Tendi storyline where she
Mm,
gets sent to get everyone. And I just love how
yeah.
often the show likes to remind you that the cat doctor is indeed a cat.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, because everyone has to have their medical, and there's a short list um of crewmen that have refused to turn up for their medicals.
Yeah.
So
And then there's
Tendy's sent off, especially as it's literally just a non-invasive
yeah, and she learns to get more assertive
probing.
as the
Mm,
as it goes on.
yes.
So she like hides to get them and things like that.
Yeah, going after more senior officers because
Yeah,
there's a couple of officers that we've seen before. There's some couple of nice little jokes in there as
yeah,
well. And then yeah, the doctor is indeed a cat. As much as she is a doctor, she really doesn't want to go and see the vet. Like
yeah.
and like so
Even
she
though she
hides
is
and
the
she
vet in this situation.
yeah she is literally it could have done her own scans, but also didn't necessarily trust
And
herself.
she's gone fully out to cover it up as well.
Yeah, because she's changed her name in the logs to just a code number. So finding out was, I mean, it was
So it's revealed that
sort
the
of
reason
a,
she picked Tendi was she just assumed Tendi would give up before
mm,
getting to the end.
yeah,
So it becomes this like high speed chase through events
mm,
where Tendi
and
goes all out into breaking her own arm to
yes, to trick her,
yeah,
to lull her into a false sense of
because
security.
as much as she's a cat, she's a doctor.
Mm, she is, she is,
Brilliant. She
and her,
she's a brilliant
and
character,
her
the doctor.
yeah, it's really good. I think, I mean, as much as again, it's a joke because obviously in theory, she isn't a cat. She's a species that's evolved completely independently of what we
Yeah,
think of as cats. But so there really shouldn't be any reason why this species would behave as human cats would do. And yeah, obviously it's good humor.
yeah.
So,
Although
but
again,
it's
to a
so
certain
well.
extent, like we know like domesticated cats love boxes, right?
Mm,
Which is obviously shown in the previous episode.
yeah,
But she does boxes, but like it also makes when you think about it, it makes zero sense like that a big tiger would be as infatuated with a cardboard box in the same way that a domesticated cat is.
and yet they are like
Yeah,
that's a like so like you show a big cat the equivalent, and they'll at least get in it and
yeah.
have a little poke around. I mean, we know why it is. It's because it makes them feel safe.
It
Because
also
it's like
apparently
they're
makes them feel like
mm,
it's a good spot to hunt from.
mm, because they can't be seen.
Yeah, they're hidden. They feel hidden in it.
Yeah, yeah. So it sort of makes sense. But then, of course, you've also got to like assume that they've had the same predatory situations in on that planet that they
Yeah,
evolved on, and then that this hasn't been lost through evolution as well. So, but yeah, just.
I also
But
love.
I think again, it's the balance, isn't it? It's the balance of how well the show is written, and for the voice actors and I suppose the animators, how well they're drawn and performed, really.
I love
That
the Ferengi setting up Mugato Jurassic Park at the end
yes, yeah, yeah. It was so.
because that's the
Oh.
compromise they
Mm.
reach. Like,
Yes, to set up a an animal sanctuary for the Mugatos to keep them safe because although it would take more time, they wrote some projections. This is Boimler and what's his face,
um,
the cyborg
Rutherford, Rutherford,
Rutherford. Yes,
yeah,
they wrote some projections that showed that they would make significantly more money out of having a Jurassic Park essentially,
yeah,
rather than having just poaching them and selling their horns and what have you. Um, and there was a nice little line in there as well about how these were older Ferengi, like that were still clinging to the old ways. And because I've I've taken a little time off recently on hammering Star Trek. I think we just got so
yeah.
completely overwhelmed with it. But we're in the last couple of episodes of Deep Space Nine now, and we've in I think it's episode 24 of the last season. Rom gets made the Grand Nagus, and it's revealed because in the entire run, like Ferengi culture has
Yeah.
changed because Rom and Quark's mum starts. She becomes the new. She becomes the Nagus's new girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she secretly starts running the Ferengi Empire because the Nagus is losing it. So it shows she changes laws and she makes things fairer and she puts
Yeah.
in like equality measurements and stuff like that. And so Rom is given the reins. So of course, by the time Lower Decks comes around, the traditional money hoarding.
Well, we've moved Ferengi from the rather questionable stereotype TNG Ferengi.
Yeah,
right?
the one that like was very like ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, although in all honesty, it was fleshed out in TNG a bit. At least by the end.
But DS9 is the one that does the bulk of the work.
DS9 certainly does the bulk of the work. Because the thing is that like they could have really pulled back on it in DS9. But what actually they did was they went so heavy into it and gave you detailed lore that instead of it being what could have been a very awkward racial stereotype in space, they actually gave it a really, really well fleshed out background and in history, and gave you like essentially two main characters, well three actually, including the younger one, who you got to learn that culture with. It was I suppose a rare mistake on Star Trek's behalf that they rectified. And done very, very well. So it was a lovely joke, I thought, because they did mention Quark in this episode as well.
Yes,
I think we even saw a Quark's bar. Was it in the last episode?
Yeah,
I feel like it was. It was on one of the dirty planets.
Moving on, Lower Decks isn't the only Star Trek news we've got this week.
Certainly not, because
we've had Star Trek Day.
Yeah, when we filmed it was Star Trek Day. Well, yes,
and,
day before we filmed this.
So first off, the big bulk of what we got was a new trailer for Picard Season 2.
Yep.
I have some. I think I described it to you earlier as like, what if Voyage Home wasn't fun?
Yeah, it was. It very much has a like.
I think I like Picard more than you liked Picard Season 1, but I agree with your issues with it. I think it's very much.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, we do try and be quite positive on this channel. Like I don't dislike Picard.
I think it's very much the kind of story that Patrick Stewart feels interested in being in, and whether that is good Star Trek is up for debate.
Yeah, I mean, I was discussing it with my wife earlier. I think that like there seems to be some. I mean, obviously they've got different approaches with the modern Star Treks, and that's great because obviously it's a Star Trek for different people. Like, obviously, we're going to talk about Prodigy as well in a little bit, like, you know, which is a Nickelodeon show, so it's Star Trek definitely for kids.
Yeah.
But so you've got Discovery, which is arguably for ideally brand new Star Trek fans. It's something that works in a modern television environment. But still ticks enough Star Trek boxes that old fans such as ourselves can get something out of Discovery. Then you've got
well, not everyone does.
Not everybody does, no, and that's fine. Then obviously you've got Picard, which is very much for, I'd say, for TNG fans, and in particular,
not sure it is.
I think it's trying.
It's definitely
to be.
for Patrick Stewart fans, and that might be a reason
Yeah.
I enjoy it slightly more than you. In fact, I just love watching Patrick Stewart.
I mean, I love watching Patrick Stewart. Don't get me wrong. I think that
But
like, but I do
it's
think it's trying to be a for TNG fans, and I don't think it necessarily
I don't think it's
succeeds.
anything remotely like TNG though. That's the thing. I think out of
Yeah.
all the current Star Trek stuff, Discovery season 1 aside,
Mm,
it's the least Star Trekky.
I get you. I get
In the
you.
fact that it very much feels like Mass Effect.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Um.
watching this trailer, I came up with some interesting theories I threw to you earlier.
Yes.
That the trailer seems to show that the season's going to be about Q popping back in time and changing history to turn history into a totalitarian state.
Mm,
Now, I came up with a theory like, does Q go back and start the mirror universe?
yeah.
And that the reason the mirror universe gets further and further apart by the time we get to that there isn't one to return to in Discovery beyond using a god to do so,
Yeah.
and even then doesn't return to a
The same
contemporary
time
point.
point.
It's
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
TOS era, well before
Mm,
TOS era, mirror universe, right? Is it that
mm,
say if Q went back and changed something that created a mirror universe, and Picard and everyone wake up and find themselves in the mirror universe,
yeah.
but then they go back in time and fix it? They stop Q
Mm,
from making that change. Is it a case of a reason that you can access the mirror universe from original series era and earlier up until DS9 era, right?
mm,
Is because it's still there, but Picard has fixed it, so it's
yeah.
not there going
Yeah.
going forward. Like that's
So
why
it's not.
it's
It's not here, and it's not here, but it is here.
yeah,
Almost. Yeah. It almost exists in its own tiny time loop.
yeah.
Yeah. Possible.
It,
Possible. I mean,
just because
the
there's a lot of
thing
mirror universe esque imagery in that trailer.
certainly is. It does look like we might be dealing with the Terran universe, and
Yeah,
obviously, it does seem like potentially, the big bosses at Star Trek are trying to do something that will link
yeah.
all of them, or at least the live action ones. Whether Prodigy and whether Lower Decks join in on that or not, we will see.
See, and
Um,
seeing John Delancey and Patrick Stewart acting across from each
mm,
other, that was
yeah,
delightful.
I mean, the worrying bit with that is I thought some of the writing in season one, in particular, some of the dialogue was a bit like, and
I don't mind Hammy at Star Trek.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't hammy. It was just a bit like,
It is Hammy.
mm,
Picard is probably because you
mm,
expect Picard to have the speeches.
mm.
Although that said, Discovery's full of it as well.
Yeah, but it was a
Discovery's full of
different
Burnham
kind.
going like, "Oh, now we're family" speeches, and
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. I didn't have a problem with that. There was something that was just missing. I can't even put my finger on it, but there was something not there.
Picard sans
With
crew. I think that's
possibly.
it. I think it's
Mm,
weirdly just, and I know he's got his weird little pirate crew, right?
mm,
But and they're obviously carrying on. They're still a team, a crew as such.
mm.
And I like that. I like this,
Yeah,
like
they're a decent
Picard
team
as
as well, and
leading the
it's sort of
Firefly kind of
yeah,
thing. It's.
yeah,
I think that's why it feels kind of un-Star Trek in the fact that it's not a Federation ship.
yeah. I get you. It is. It's Firefly in Mass Effect,
Yeah,
like in
in
the
the Star Trek
Starfleet universe.
universe. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's
and
yeah, that's
it's an
part of the
interesting
problem.
perspective because if we're going to do modern Star Trek, I think we should explore things that aren't Starfleet potentially.
Oh, I have no issue with that at
Especially
all.
if we are doubling down on the fact that maybe Starfleet aren't. Maybe it's not. Maybe Starfleet aren't the angels of our like.
Mm,
And I think you do that by saying that yeah maybe Starfleet isn't, but for people in it can be. I think you see
yeah.
that in season 3 of Discovery how we find this
Yeah.
jaded, broken Starfleet in the future, and the Discovery crew reignite. To quote,
What it can be.
to quote the other Star franchise, and Last Jedi, you know, that famously uncontroversial film. It's like Poe says, right? With a spark that's going to light the fire that'll,
Yeah.
like, and that's what Discovery Season 3 was full of, like, the fact that Starfleet had effectively become embers.
Yeah. Sorry.
And the return of Discovery is what was needed to remind them who they are, right? Who they're meant to be.
Yeah.
You see how kind of isolated the Vulcan and Romulan combination has become. And Burnham reminds them, like, well, no, there's a universe out here that needs help, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the magic of Star Trek.
It is.
And I'm not sure if Picard Season 1 ever got there.
No. I mean, obviously...
I mean, it has its
Discovery
moments,
Season
like
1.
when Riker shows up.
Yeah. But then I think as much as anything, that's because if anyone of that cast truly gets Star Trek, it's him.
Yeah. I also think the thing is, there's concepts in that show I love. Like those and I'm not sure. I imagine there may be a concept that has appeared before. I'm not sure, but the Romulan the Romulan nuns.
Yeah.
That that's Ben Gesserit's Dune. What are they called?
I know what you mean. I can't think, but I do know what you mean. Yeah.
But the ones who only take on lost causes. I love that idea. Like, because Burnham's mum's one. I like how that played into Discovery Season 3.
Yeah.
Because the reason Burnham's mum represents Burnham at the meeting is that these people only take on lost causes.
Yeah.
But yeah, after Beyond Picard, we got another Strange New Worlds teaser where they reveal more of the cast.
Yep.
Obviously, Spock, Pike, and Number One are returning.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting a recast Uhura as Cadet Uhura,
Yep.
which is going to be great.
Definitely.
We're getting Nurse Barrett.
No, that was the name of the actress.
Oh yes,
Who originally played Number One,
and then played Nurse
then
Chapel.
played
Nurse
the
Chapel.
Nurse Chapel in
Yeah.
the original series.
So we're getting another Nurse Chapel. The
Yep.
Doctor from the pilot is back,
He's
right?
back. Yeah.
Is that the Doctor from the pilot?
It is the Doctor from the pilot, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously Bones is the Doctor in.
Because Bones is the Doctor in.
And then some new characters, including a
Noonien Singh.
yes, which again, this stuff's getting tied together.
Not a Noonien song, although there are links between Noonien Song and Noonien Singh.
What is the difference? As in between the
Noonien Singh is Khan, and Noonien Song
I may have actually mixed it up.
Is Data.
Oh, I may have. I saw it and thought Data. I thought.
But there are links. That's the thing. So, like, in Star Trek Enterprise, you actually meet some of Khan's people, because they bump into one of the sleeping ships, and they wake them up, and it's them who actually inspire the Klingons to try genetic enhancement themselves. And because they are Klingons and don't want to do science, they steal some of the genetic material from the Khan folk, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to...
Is that what they splice into Klingon?
That's what they splice into
Ah,
Klingons, which is the explanation of why in the original series
Klingons look
there
like
are
people.
Klingons look like humans.
Yeah.
Not necessarily all
Have a
Klingons
Klingon.
will
Yeah,
look
Klingons
like.
like humans because Klingons are people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No. Um. So, but in dealing with that episode, we meet Brent Spiner playing um Doctor Sung's dad, possibly grandfather.
Gotta be
So
older than
Doctor's,
Dad.
I think it's
Because
grandfather.
Enterprise
So
is way
it's
back.
about, yeah, it's about 200 years. Yeah. So yes, so Doctor Sung's grandfather will say, um, who was a eugenicist. So um he had taken these people on, taken Khan's tribe on, and tried to help them, tried to spur them on, tried to like
Yeah.
find out why they were a success and create his own people as well. Obviously, Captain Archer stops him from doing that, and he ends up in prison. And then they finish with him deciding to look at robotics
You know,
instead of.
as much as he's data, Brent Spiner's got to be actually up there for how many Star Trek villains he's played in regards to actor to play the.
Well, yeah, because I mean, he's played his own dad.
Yeah,
He's
he's played
played
Law.
his great granddad.
Yeah.
He's played Law, and he's played his brother, his human brother.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, he's certainly done the rounds. So yes, so not Khan himself, but the same type of people that were modified, possibly under Khan's rule.
Yeah.
Because obviously he was a tyrant. Like there's not huge amounts of data written because it's meant to be in a almost a dark ages period in the late 90s in our
Yeah.
time frame. Because the eugenics war does shift ever so slightly, which is it's quite nicely done because it, in theory, is a dark ages. There is a eugenics war. There is World War Three. Where Earth is devastated
No,
so much that
it's
that
sci-fi
our.
needs sliding timescales, doesn't it? If it doesn't
Well, I
stop.
think I think the thing is within canon it sort of works because you can write it as it like dates do change and when you go and do more historical records and you find new bits of evidence and
Yeah,
carbon
because
date them,
really, it's like
etc.
us looking at.
Well, we still don't, in our own dark ages,
Well,
we still actually don't know how long the 300 years between 500 and 800 AD was.
yeah, we've
We
got a
think it
missing
was
gap of. Well,
about
isn't there?
300 years.
Well, isn't there also like that gap? There's it's a conspiracy theory that's been debunked,
Hmm.
but it's that famous conspiracy theory that Charlemagne never existed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That there's a whole millennium that didn't happen,
Hmm.
and like so the Holy Roman Empire could pretend it had links to like various things. They basically just fast forwarded
Hmm.
time. It's been
Hmm.
let's say it's been completely debunked. It's not a real
Oh, yeah.
thing, but
But I
there's
mean,
people who
obviously,
believe it.
we still don't know exactly what happened in the Dark Ages. We don't know, like, we know it was roughly 300 years or whatever time period, but we don't know exactly date for date and stuff like that. It was a great period of turmoil. And that's the same thing within the Star Trek thing with the eugenics war and World War Three. It does
Yeah,
kind of fluctuate a little. Um, so yeah, so obviously, like during the eugenics war, Khan ruled most of Asia, um, and parts of Africa and parts of yeah. So it was quite he was prolific. So these people were kind of under they would have been created under his methods.
so like someone
Um,
as speaking of sliding timescales, I saw someone
mm,
point out now that in theory, Marvel Comics, right?
yeah,
Because the superheroes have to stay predominantly the same age.
yeah.
That someone pointed out that probably most of the MCU now happens post 9/11.
Oh yeah.
Like it's that was a long enough time ago now that most of not most of the
Mm,
MCU, sorry, most of the
mm,
Marvel universe is in the comic universe
yeah.
happens post like
Yeah.
that Iron Man probably is now lost, much like he was in the film, in Afghanistan. Punisher probably comes out of.
Yeah.
Captain America gets woken up later and later because he always has to predominantly stay in World War Two, because there certainly isn't any other wars you can move him into and remain morally like.
Yeah.
There isn't any other American wars you could shift Captain America into.
There's nothing significant enough, I suppose, as well, that, like, you couldn't necessarily have him be created in the first place to be a super answer to a real world evil,
and have him be the hero, right?
Yeah.
That's the
yeah.
And while obviously no war is clean cut, at least the pop culture view of World War Two is that it is a good guys versus bad guys situation. At least pop culture, that's how especially British and American media treats it. While even like American media doesn't necessarily treat wars after that fact as being. It's why Punisher comes out of Nam, right, and not an earlier. That's the war that creates. But we're getting way off topic here. That's not Star Trek. I just
no, but I mean it's a decent tangent and
but I do
somewhat
think
relevant.
we need to wrap the episode because I'm going to move us along to Prodigy.
Prodigy, yeah.
Prodigy, hard to find a trailer for. I've seen a very badly cropped version of a trailer.
There's a YouTube channel that seems to specialise in turning them into super portrait mode.
I don't know why they haven't put a public trailer out there, but yeah, Prodigy. I'm still looking forward to it.
Yeah, very much.
But on that note, me and you have got to go and record a live viewing of the PlayStation event that is airing tonight. It'll have already aired by the time you've seen this episode, but we're going to
in 15 minutes or so.
Yes, so I want to get a drink, so we're going to shimmy off to another show. So as always, hope you've enjoyed our rambling about Star Trek.
I've got my brown Romulan ale.
Live long and prosper, guys.
See you later.
And look, I nailed it this week.
You did. Did you